Well, good afternoon and a very, very warm welcome to Camelot Castle at tea time on Saturday, the 14th of August. And, I have to say, the Lord has provided us today with the most glorious, glorious sunny day on the North Cornwall coast. And our guests, mainly here at Camelot Castle, are out enjoying the sunshine. They've either gone to the beach or they are taking a brisk walk along the coastal path from here to Boscastle or from here to Port Isaac, home of Dr. Martin, as many of you like to know him. Anyway, it is a super day down here, and I just thought I would drop in and say hello to let you know that everything is going very, very well. Now, as some of you may have seen, we launched yesterday our universal campaign to re-elect President Trump as the 47th President of the United States of America in 2024. Now, I know a lot of you are very excited about the possibility that President Trump may be restored to the White House sooner than 2024, but we are working on the basis that 2024 is the target date, and 2024 is going to be upon us very, very rapidly. King Arthur was only here a few centuries ago, and life moves apace very, very rapidly indeed. And 3 years, 2024, we're now 2021, 3 years will pass very, very rapidly, and it is so important that we ensure that President Trump is re-elected. Now, this afternoon we are joined by one or two friends from all over the world. We're joined by Kate Matilda. All of you, what I would like to do is when I say somebody's name here, what I would like you to do is A, share this broadcast with as many people as you can, and B, let's make a positive wish for these people who've joined us and said hello. Sarah Schofield is with us. Hello, how are you? Sue Chippendale, who is one of the greatest freedom fighters England has ever created, is with us. Sue, how are you? Now, those of you that are coming down for our Freedom Weekend, the party is going to be on Friday, not on Saturday. Sorry to tell you. We've kept the hotel open for those of you that love Camelot Castle TV and a bit of freedom. And there we are. Tony Cato, very good afternoon, John. Alan Helm, good afternoon to you too. Michelle Blom, hello, how are you? Jan Billings is with us. Katie Matilda says he will be reseated sooner than 2024, hopefully this month. Well, I hope he will be too. But the guaranteed backstop is 2024. And so what we're doing here at Camelot is doing everything we possibly can to restore President Trump and restore the communication lines that relate to the philosophy that he was exporting. And obviously what we've experienced. So Chris Ram says, hi John, Trump will win. 2022 will put the Republicans in at ground level, which will make the Democrats wish they had stayed in bed. Well, and here Carol Sutton says he never left office. Now, whereas legally that may or may not be true, philosophically, of course, that is absolutely correct. President Trump has never resigned from the duty and the purpose and the concept, and he just kept going. And I think all good Thetans, when they embark upon a purpose, they don't stop, just because the situation stops. They just keep going. And there's a tremendous value in just keeping going. If you just keep going, any disorder comes into view, and you just keep going. And very often that disorder will leave. In fact, eventually it always does. And the reason for that is that the truth is far, far more powerful than any lie, because you are the truth. And even when you yourself make an error, eventually you will recover from that error, you'll confront what it is that you did, and you will take a look at the truth, and you go, you know what, I'm not the lie, I'm not the error, I'm the good side, and that's who I am. And then you will restore your beingness. You will restore your beingness. So even those of you that, let's say, out there, and this is a message to anybody out there that's feeling a little bit down in the dumps today, or a little bit like life hasn't quite gone the way they planned it, restore who you are. Restore your basic business. Your basic beingness. We had a long chat the other day about how all we really, each of us and every one of us, has to do at this particular point in time is restore one's basic beingness. Now, the other thing that I'm going to say, and you can see here that there's a mark on my jacket, which is, I've got to get it right, here. There's a mark on it, and here. There's a mark here. And I have to tell you, it's the moth. The moth. If you have clothes in a cupboard, this is just another little tip, check them regularly for the moth. Otherwise what happens is these moth can turn into being, small little things, but they can turn into being extremely expensive creatures. And, they come in during the summer. And, I found that this particular moth loves the blue dye, munching on the blue dye. And they had a good munch over here, you see. And then I went to the cupboard and I found out that the moth had been at it again. Now, I'm not a wasteful person, so I'm not going to throw this jacket away because I'm quite fond of it. I've had it for a long time. And so I'm just going to live with the fact that my moth population has had a go at it. I'm going to have a word with my wife and see what we can do about that. But for any of you that are living in the countryside, as we do here, of course, I don't know if there's moth problems in London, but do check over your clothes at this time of year for moth. Now, we're joined also by Katrina, Joyce, yes, Trump24, Karen Mitchell. Hello to all of you. Now, we're making, Sarah, lovely to see you, and you're well. Good. Kate Fulford is with us. Hello, how are you, Kate? Lovely to have you. Do please share this broadcast. Now, I'm back on Twitter under @Real John Mappin. So do subscribe to that. I tend to put a lot of very, very good information out on Twitter, but the real meat and potatoes, if you really want to, if you look in the corner of the screen, it's mirror imaged. So there, up in the corner, there it is, Camelot TV Network, under, Camelot TV Network on Twitter, and you'll find that. And there's two things there. There's the Heralds and there's the Heralds Hub. And I do apologise. Somebody, according to my wife, somebody was posting really rather unpleasant material on there recently. And we are going to, I'm afraid, block people that do silly things on there. Really rather unnecessary, if you don't mind me saying so. Jan Billings, Michelle Blom says end of August. Patricia Walsh says WWG1 WGA. No idea what that means at all. Claudia Byrne. Patricia Wolf says he won by millions. I just hope it's next week. Katie Matilda says he's been in control behind the scenes, allowing all this pantomime with Biden to play out to wake people up. Well, if he wasn't, it certainly looks that way, because Charlie Barton says, howdy folks, howdy Charlie, how are you? Jojo says, hi John, you always speak wise words. Michelle Blom says, I believe he couldn't do this by himself. He needed people to wake up to what is really going on with the evil elites. Well, it's very interesting you mention these evil elites, because I just had a chat in the bar. At Camelot Castle, this is the Infinity Salon, but we have next door to this room the Golden Age Bar and the Explorers Tea Room, which of course is home of the greatest tarts, treacle tarts and crumpet, which is a type of a tea cake, in all of England. And if you haven't tried our crumpets and if you haven't tried our tart, the treacle tart in particular, I do suggest that you make your way here. But I was having a word with somebody who was just there ordering a lovely pint of beer on this lovely hot summer's day. And we just got into chatting, and we were talking and this and that, and he said he was lamenting to me. He said, well, I've been double jabbed, and I can't go to the Czech Republic with my wife because I would have to do 10 days quarantine and 10 days quarantine either side. And I said, well, who can really afford to live like this? And of course, it's all right if you've got a private jet and they organise all these things for you. And I have been noticing that a lot of people with the old PJs, the old private jets, are moving around very freely and going to various different parties. I think Obama gave a lovely birthday party for his 60th birthday, and they were all dancing there. And it seems to me as if the elites, the people with what I would call super wealth, not your humble Cornish hoteliers and the likes of, most of you or I here, we work hard for our crust people on the whole here, other than Amanda Eliash, of course, who is a billionaire of tremendous capacity. But no, I mean, isn't it the case? I mean, I thought we were trying to avoid a haves and have-nots society. But what all of this sort of lefty or neo-communist bullshit is actually doing is it's creating a superclass of your sort of Bezos characters, and they're moving around and flying around and behaving as if absolutely nothing has happened. They're all down on their super yachts down in the south of France, enjoying the fresh sea bass down at the Club 55. That's where they are. And here we are. We can't travel. And, all sorts of limitations are being placed on us. And one does wonder, I have a great saying, which my mother used to say, and her mother before her. She used to say, darling, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. The proof of the pudding is in the eating. It's not what people say that matters. It's what actually you observe materializing in the physical universe. What is the actual result of all the guff and the waffle and the how's your father and the round your houses? And, people do waffle on a bit, for Christ. And I'm guilty of that too, I'm afraid. But, what is the actual net result? And do any of you out there, I'd be interested to know, do you feel as if it is we're sleepwalking into a more divided by wealth society? Is it the case that the wealthy are having a very different lockdown to somebody, let's say? Now, Kate Fulford has a moth problem. Well, Kate, I sympathise with you, because these bloody moths, they're a bit like moths, are a bit like an annoying politician. They get into all of the nooks and crannies and they start nibbling away at life, and before you know it, they've cost you money. Now, or they would cost most people money. Of course, I'm very mean, so the moths, all I've got to do is I've got to find a couple of other moths to chew away on this side of the jacket. That would be good, because then it would be balanced. Right now it looks as if I'm somewhat balanced, or as if I've had an accident with a toothpaste or something. But what it actually is that the moths have had a go at my jacket. But most people, of course, they chuck this jacket out. I'll hold on to this jacket for another 30 years, God willing. But I'll probably pass it down to my great grandchildren. But they do, and this is what politicians do, is they get into the nooks and crannies and they have a nibble away. But Kate Fulford has got moth problems in Glastonbury. What is the solution for moths? I don't know. We're joined by Jane Cole-Marshall, who is a fabulous woman. The party on the bank holiday, Jane, is going to be on the Friday at 9 o'clock. There'll be champagne at the round table for those of you that love freedom, and everybody's welcome, and we'll have plenty of champagne. So that should be fun, but it's going to be on the Friday, not the Saturday. The Saturday, everybody's welcome here, and I'm sure that will all be fun, but the party is on the Friday. Now, Valerie Farron is with us. Now, for those of you that are creatively inclined, Valerie Farron, is one of the top promoters. If you want success as an actor in Hollywood or as a singer in Hollywood, contact her. She will help you out. California is working on a free state country world by recalling Gavin Newsom. Be interesting to see how that goes. Rosef Jan Osterloo, hello. Oh, WWGWWA stands for Where We Go One, We Go All. Thank you. Thank you. I think I'd heard that somewhere before, but I wasn't entirely sure. Kate Fulford says, I think President Trump is still in power. Well, of course, he is in power as a being. You, as beings, and this is the point I was trying to make to you the other day, however much you get invalidated, or however much somebody tries to tell you, you are not the thing that you are, just because somebody says that to you is not a reason for you to A, go into agreement with it, or B, not be who you are. And one of the reasons I strongly advise any of you here to take a trip to Cornwall is because, number one, in this hotel, you will not find any mainstream media or any newspapers. Any newspapers. We don't do newspapers here, other than, of course, the Camelot News, which is the most fabulous newspaper in the world, completely uneditorially biased. But we really, truthfully, want you to step out of the modern world and restore your basic beingness, your basic life force, who you are, how the Creator fully and truthfully intended you to be as a self-determined, sovereign, freedom of choice, freedom of thinking, freedom of speaking individual. And we've had some fabulous people arriving here. And the other thing is I wanted to tell you is we are going to be now, we've had some time, we've taken some time, we took about 2 months off, really. Well, we're not off, we've just been doing other things, to be fair, that were very needful and very important. But we are now going to be strengthening Camelot Castle TV network. And I was saying to a friend of mine the other day, is if there's anybody out there who you feel that we should be interviewing, then what you should do is have them write to tv@camelotcastle.com. And if there's anybody out there, now who would we like to interview? Well, not just celebrities, not just people that are in the public eye. What we're interested in is new thoughts, new ideas, new concepts that can actually help humanity. And as many of you know, I've been a Scientologist for many, many years, 30 years. It's been one of the most useful things I've ever done. But there are other things other than Scientology that are helpful to people, and you hear enough about that from me anyway. So, and if you don't hear enough about it, you can go to Scientology.tv, and you can learn all about that, and that's all there for you to know. But you know what? There are other new things that are happening in the world. There's other new ideas, new concepts, very thoughtful people out there that probably are not getting the oxygen that they should be getting, because the agenda of other media is not to give people who have original ideas that are helpful to man oxygen. If anything, they seek to deprive such individuals of oxygen. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to appoint every single one of you that is watching today as a noble ambassador for Camelot Castle. And you can use that title, by the way. It's an official title. It's granted by the Noble Order of Camelot Castle. So each and every one of you are noble ambassadors and heralds of Camelot Castle Television Network. And it's an official title. You can use it on your letterhead from now on. You can abbreviate it if you like. And obviously you would go, the correct address for an ambassador would be Your Excellency. So if you don't mind, I'll address you as Your Excellencies. And really this is somebody who is working on behalf of a constructive flow or constructive force. So Your Excellencies, as noble ambassadors, what I would really, really love it if you could do this, would be to locate individuals who we should be talking to. Now, you can send in, I can't promise you that we're going to interview everybody that you recommend, but I would like to be interviewing 1 or 2 very, very interesting people a week that would not otherwise get the light of day. Now, of course, we're also going to be interviewing people that we all know. Dr. Stephen Greer has agreed to come on here. He's one of the world's greatest experts in UFOs. Wow, that's an interesting question. Random question. What is your favourite food? Wow. Well, as you've just asked me the question, I can just give you a flash answer. I'm quite partial to snails. And I wouldn't necessarily say, but as you asked me the question, that was my snap answer. Now, is that my favourite food, or is that just what I thought of? I actually do quite, I wouldn't want them every day, but once in a while, there is a particular, I'm quite partial to raspberries, but they have to be very good raspberries. I'm quite picky when it comes to raspberries. And green gages. I do enjoy a good green gauge, but it can't be overripe and it can't be underripe. It's got to be absolutely, I do like a good green gauge and a damson. I do enjoy a fresh damson. So there's all sorts of things. I'm not particularly a foodie though, Michael. What's your favourite food? Now, where we go one, we go all. Joe Katsuno says, coming on Wednesday for tarts. Joe, please do, and we will make sure that the tart supply is in good order. Deborah Sentner says, hello from Arizona. Fantastic. Patriot. Obama's party was for the hypocritical elite. So you sort of agree with me on this. For me, but not for thee. Kate Thorford says, do as I say, but not as I do. Michelle Bloom says, the Hunger Games. It is starting to look a little bit like that, isn't it? What sector are we here? Sector Cornwall. Huh. Our lives are worth nothing to the elites. It's almost as if the 1% are telling the rest how they will exist. Yeah, I completely agree with you. Being ruled by a totally corrupt government. Peppermint essential oil is good to keep the moths at bay. I had no idea. I've been using naphthalene, which is probably not very good for you, and I've been using little moth catchers. We're discussing the moth problem. You can see my jacket here has been mothified, and it's very distressing. But I realise that a moth is basically a metaphor for how politicians really work. They get into the bloody nooks and crannies. They're just they're destroying wealth. Really, they're destroying society. Jane Taylor says, just pure greed with the elites. Charlie Barton says, don't be mean, buy some mothballs. But I've had bloody mothballs. They don't always work. So I think you have to check your clothes regularly as well. I'm thinking of Trump in this reset. Otherwise, he would have had some options to keep the presidency between November the 4th and January the 20th. Why did he not initiate action then? And what is the stuff with vaccine that was promoted by him too? Much that gurgles. Well, it's interesting. A lot of people have had that thought. Jane Cole Marshall says, looking forward to seeing you. Valerie Farron says, put cedar in your closet to handle the moths. I have been using cedar as well. Now, Stephanie Seabrand says, hi John, I was just in Italy, and whilst in Milan, we witnessed a major peaceful protest against the Green Pass. Little did we realise that in less than 3 weeks later, Los Angeles County would mandate something similar. Well, Stephanie, you have been one of the great supporters of President Trump. You've been one of the great supporters of freedom, and you yourself and your family are fantastic freedom fighters. I know your pedigree well, and can I first of all start off by thanking you as a noble ambassador for freedom. Thank you so much. It's all coming, and this is why I think all of us have to agree upon, and this is why we launched the campaign for, President Trump. And it's an important campaign, really, very, very important, and super important, really, super important. We need to get him re-elected, and I'm just going to show you what we posted up yesterday, because we did yesterday announce the launch of the here it is. I'm just going to get this for you. I've just got to take a quick screenshot of this, but I will have it for you. Here we go. It says Camelot Castle likes, and this is on my Twitter account, which you can see. Now there we go. Here it is. Camelot Castle likes free thinkers, free speakers, free human beings, governments and leaders that create freedom. This is why we are announcing our new universal freedom campaign to re-elect President Trump as the 47th President of the United States. Get ready. Well, that is basically what we are doing, and it is important, very, very important, that we do that. And I want to thank each and every one of you, everywhere, for, your help in that. And how are we going to be doing that? Well, the beauty and the unique situation of Camelot Castle TV network is that we are able to reach thousands and thousands of opinion formers worldwide. And that is why we've called it the Universal Freedom Campaign, because electing President Trump is going to require help from the entire world. We cannot just leave it to the good and free people in America to get President Trump re-elected. We have to, everybody that loves freedom around the world is going to need to help. And so every time you share this broadcast, every time you get somebody to subscribe to Camelot TV Network on Telegram, I can't begin to tell you how helpful that is. And seeds and ideas, concepts of freedom. If you know anything about freedom at all, share what you know. Those of you that are Scientologists out there, you should be giving away 10 to 15 Dianetics books a week. And if each and every one of the 16 million Scientologists in the world gave away 10 to 15 Dianetics books a week, President Trump would be elected, and so much would change on this planet. So much would change, but we've got to be brave. We've got to be willing to stick our heads above the parapets and say what it is that we know to be true. We've got to be ourselves. We cannot allow ourselves to be suppressed in any way by anybody. Jenny Anderson Temperley says, I'm getting to all of your comments, so do keep commenting. Yes, they are. I think if you try to travel, you actually can. I think if you own a villa in the south of France, go. You just test in and out. You don't need to mix with all the masses. I'm not vaxxed and won't be, but there are ways of going. Well, I'm glad that's true, but it does seem to me that for ordinary people who perhaps don't have villas in the south of France, they are having a very, very hard time with it if they want to go to hotels. Gigi Ann Flick, Great Recall Newsom. Wow, Mandy Lee was with us. Loved your hotel last week and walked the labyrinth for Lionsgate. I think we met and we said hello, didn't we, Mandy? Fantastic. Lionsgate obviously opened up many truth portals for many, many people. Keep doing what you're doing, Mandy. It's so priceless. And if there are any light workers out there, if there are any people that are engaged in light work, and light work takes many, many forms, we welcome all light workers here, and I do hope you'll pass by and have a drink on Friday night at the round table. We're going to be making a few very magical postulates and a few magical wishes at the round table at 9 o'clock this Friday. Kate Matilda says, can I move in? Well, you'll just check with the reception, I'm sure. If you've got the rooms, I'm sure you can. Gigi Anfic would love to visit Camelot Castle one day. You're welcome. We love people that think freely. So Terry Ball says, The Light is a good paper. Yes, it is, and we've just signed up to be distributors for The Light. And that's fantastic. We're going to be helping distributing that. Sue Thackeray Cotterell. Hello from Australia. Always love your broadcast, John. Thank you for keeping us uplifted. I think that's the least we can do, is keep each other uplifted and in a positive, sensible, common sensey type of a frame in mind. As you know, I tend to avoid the extremities. But Sue, Australia, what is going on down there? I mean, it's almost as if they're trying to turn Australia back into some sort of prison colony. And, you know, those of you that know your history understand that a lot of the, maybe it's because a lot of the prison guards in Australia have sort of reincarnated and are now in positions of government. You know, obviously, initially, Australia was a penal colony for the British Empire. You know, you'd be sent to Australia for shoplifting or something. Even minor theft, because this is how Australia was populated. But, of course, many people went to Australia that were not criminals, and then those that went there for, you know, reasons other than they'd been convicted, you know, they get rather upset if you say that Australia is a prison colony. But it does seem as if perhaps the prison guards that were sent there to take care of the inmates have found themselves reincarnated in the subcontinent, in Antipodean realms, as we call it, and are behaving in a way. You've got to keep fighting for your freedom down there, Sue. You've got to keep communicating, and one of the ways that you can do that is share Camelot Castle TV network with your friends. I know I keep stressing this, but I can't begin to tell you. And please subscribe on all of the channels. It does help us. Melissa Saloni, we are sovereign beings, freedom. Exactly. Stepping out of the modern world is so important. And that's what people have the chance to do. Because people come to Camelot, and sometimes if they've come from London or something, or one of these very sophisticated cities, you see, where everybody's doing Instagram and this and that, and all of these various different, very sophisticated activities. And they say, well, what is there to do around here? And I said, well, actually, there's nothing to do around here. And they look at me with a rather blank. I said, but other than that, you know, you can take a walk. And walk down the cliff and see if you notice something that you've never noticed before. You know. And, you know, they come back after a 3-hour walk and they are completely transformed. Completely transformed. You can actually try doing this at home. You don't even need to come to Cornwall to do this. Take a walk and see if you notice something that you've never noticed before. Just do that this afternoon. Kate McKilda, have you ever thought about interviewing Simon Parkes? I have interviewed Simon Parkes. And he's a very well-meaning fellow. Paula Churchill says, I need help. Please help. Let us know what you need help with. Benny Johnson, absolutely. Anybody who you feel, just write to us, TV at Camelot Castle, and if you can have spoken to the person previously who you'd like us to interview and have gotten their agreement that they'd like to do an interview, that would be super. Now, John says, I'd love you to interview my CEO. Why not? Write to me. And Valerie Fallon, thank you so much. Just put up the website. This, by the way, Valerie Fallon lives in Hollywood. If you ever want to be a success in Hollywood, if you feel that you're talented as an actor or as a singer, contact Valerie Fallon and she will set you in the right direction. And if you have ability, if you have talent, she is the person to contact. And she's very kindly posted up the website for Scientology TV. There's a lot of knowledge on there, and you would do a lot of good in the world if you just share that. Corey Good, Norman Gifford, Patricia Walsh. Are snails fast food? I don't think they are particularly fast food. Guest recommended John Walters, Irish author, brilliantly adept on these bizarre times. Put him in touch. My great aunt had a greengage bush. Well, greengages are lovely. And thanks about the tarts, that's good. So, now, somebody says so Michael Roberts says, and what would be your ideal dinner? Golly, I don't know, Michelle. I don't know. I'm going to Very good question. What does Scientology think about the vax? Well, that is a very good question. The founder of Scientology, and this is my viewpoint, so I'm not an official spokesperson for the church, but the founder of Scientology was very, very clear that the church itself should never engage in medical matters or political matters. And so you're never going to hear a Church of Scientology communicate on any medical matter or on any executive of the church. You're never going to hear them communicate on any political matter or on any medical matter. However, individual Scientologists would have their own individual views, and that very much depends on their awareness and what they think on those things. So I'm sure there are Scientologists that have been vaccinated, and I'm sure there are Scientologists that haven't been vaccinated, and it's up to the individual. And that's my position as well. I think if you want to take the vaccine, you should take it. Where my position is very, very simple. I've not taken it. I'm not going to be taking it. And my position is very, very simple, is that vaccine passports are an abomination, and they are a restriction. And why they are an abomination is because they encourage discrimination. And it's just a way of dividing people, and it is well beyond the remit of any democratic government. And vaccinating children, particularly without parental consent, I think is, again, an abomination. And I think ultimately where these communistic movements will knock the keel out of their operation is if they push it and they put in vaccine passports, eventually the kickback against them by freedom-loving beings will be dramatic. And we've already started to see that in France. We've already started to see that in Italy. So it's very, very interesting. We are joined today by Amanda Eliash, who is, of course, Britain's favourite billionairess, and she is the nicest billionairess and very generous and very kind. She helped her husband and, of course, encouraged him tremendously, and they single-handedly have helped to restore huge tracts of the Amazon. Absolutely fantastic work, Amanda, and she is absolutely on our side in 99.9% of matters. I don't think there's anything so far that we have disagreed on. Dawn Rayner. Dawn, that's very, very complimentary. But as you know, I only ever engage in politics where it is philanthropic or humanitarian. And I would really rather leave the entire subject alone. Now, I've been forced into the sphere of politics. Dawn says, could we please get you to be the next leader of our country? A Trump-Mappin duo would be awesome. Well, if I was, I would certainly expect you to be on the cabinet and Privy Council of very, very, very close advisors. And of course, Dawn Rayner, as all of you here have now been appointed, is a noble ambassador of the Camelot Castle TV network. I see, honestly, in all honesty, I see Camelot Castle's role as a much more international, universal role, because and this is why we just launched the Universal Freedom campaign to re-elect President Trump, we will be getting behind other freedom fighters internationally, because this is the assault on freedom is a coordinated global assault, and the freedom break that needs to occur internationally. We need to use, as we've seen, we've got, Jijian Flick, a Universal Freedom Campaign. Better to have President Trump reinstated soon. I don't think we can withstand the authoritarian dictatorship of the Biden administration. They are destroying America. I agree with you, and I would love to turn it around sooner, and if it does, great. But let's fight to win in 2024, and let's start gathering people to that community. So if there's anybody out there that wants to be part of that campaign, get them to subscribe to Camelot Castle TV network, because 90% of the work that we're doing now, let me tell you, there are a few posts that we need to appoint. I need somebody that is a genius with social media, because I want to start exploring platforms such as Rumble, platforms such as Parler, and I myself do not have time to do all of the social media things. So we've got a modest, well, not that modest, but a significant budget to employ people. We're not going to overpay people, but we're not going to underpay people, to start building up Camelot Castle TV network. And so what we're looking for initially is somebody who can spread the word, in other words, as opposed to this broadcasting reaching, I think there's maybe 3,000 people watching now across all the different platforms that we're on. That's what I'm sort of seeing. Let's get this out to 10,000 people. So that just saves us time in terms of the numbers of people that we can contact. So the Universal Freedom Campaign is actually not just about President Trump, it's about anything that is freedom, but a target of the Universal Freedom Campaign is going to be the re-election of President Trump as the 47th President of the United States. But thank you, Dawn, for your suggestion. But getting directly involved, I think the problem is with British politics is by the time somebody becomes Prime Minister in Boris's position, they have sold out so many times over. And in my youth, when I say my youth, in my younger days, when I was 27, I was offered a position to get into politics and to become a Member of Parliament. And I looked at it very closely, but I saw that, by the time you got anywhere, you'd bored yourself to death, and B, you'd been compromised. And really, when you go into the House of Commons, I had my own offices in the House of Commons for many months. It's a sort of a drinking operation, really. And they go around to these drinks parties every night, and they serve the most ghastly wine. It's sort of the cheapest shite that you can possibly imagine, and they're all addicted to it. And so what it ends up doing to your liver after 20 years of that, I'm not against drinking a nice glass of wine, but Christ, it's like literally acid they pour down you, and these people are completely compromised. And to me, it's a drinking operation, and by the time they get anywhere near the government, they've made so many agreements that they're compromised on that it's an absolute waste of time. And as we've seen, the true power on this planet does not really rest with governments these days. It rests with those beings that have the ability to get their communication understood and heard. And on the positive side, constructive power rests with those who actually help. To what degree do you actually help your fellow human being? And that is the right way to end up in power. And the wrong way to end up in power is, well, how many people have you profited by harming? And of course, there are a number of people that are profiting from harming people at the moment. And to some degree, they've grabbed control of the reins of this planet. And so what is the solution? The solution is that we all communicate good ideas and very rapidly. So nice. Linda Koo says, Henry Webb here. Wonderful to see and hear you. Just want to remind all, have the intention, expand with reach and withdraw. Many, many blessings as we continue. Well, I think, Henry, you're absolutely right. And that's why I took a little bit of space away from the Camelot Castle TV network, and I had to decide, well, what are we going to do with this network? What are we all going to do? Well, I know all of you here watching want to help. So the first thing we've done is we've appointed each and every one of you as noble ambassadors of Camelot Castle TV network. And this is an official title for each of you. You can use this, you can use it on your letterheading, and you can now, of course, all go by the prefix, Your Excellency. And so, for instance, Chris Ram here, when I was to see Chris next, I would address Chris as Your Excellency Chris Ram. Chris is an extremely effective ambassador and has been doing a wonderful thing. Stephanie Seabrand says, did you watch Frank's speech? They brilliantly laid out all the ways the election was stolen. Is there a way to coordinate with them? It's all about fixing our system so that this doesn't happen again. Yes, Stephanie, I did. Mike Lindell is a very good friend, and we shared his broadcast on Camelot Castle TV network, but on the Telegram channel, because if I start posting that stuff up on Facebook, I'm simply going to be edited. So subscribe to that channel and you're going to get all the meat and potatoes. Gigian Fick says many Christians support Trump as well. I think anybody that is truly a Christian supports Trump. And I hate to say this, but if you don't support Trump and you're a Christian, you're probably a fake Christian. Because what his enemies have been doing. Kate Matilda says, I am a light worker. Terry Ball says, yes, 2020 is key. John has to think like a law person and not make any claims that are not in the mainstream yet. That's right, Terry. That's right. On this channel, that's exactly what I have to do. And so there we go. There we go. So Joe Katsuma says, just been to the beach and it changed my energy. Wow. Yeah. Very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. I'm just looking at a few of the comments here. I'm just going to scroll down to the end. Somebody says here, what does everyone think of Tice Lawrence, a good pair? Well, funnily enough, I had breakfast at Claridge's the other day in London with Lawrence Fox. And, of course, I know Richard Tice very well. He came to Cornwall. And we met then. And very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. We're joined here by Guy Maynard. Guy, what a blast from the past. How are you, my friend? You've got to come down to Cornwall here and see us and say hello. How lovely, lovely, lovely to see you. And he says, sounds like fine wine is the answer. You know what? I think people do better in life if when they drink good wine. Now, I'm not somebody that advocates massive alcohol use or abuse in any way, but I do think a good glass of red wine can be quite therapeutic, and it can be good for the health in some regards. So Gigi says, I did share this broadcast today. This is fantastic. Jody Troop says, hello John, what is your contact email for receiving suggestions and interviews? And I tell you what I'm going to do, with your permission, is I am going to, well, I actually can't do that. Here we go. I'm actually going to put it here. TV at Camelot Castle.com. There we go. Save. TV at CamelotCastle.com. That is the email address that will reach Camelot Castle TV network. And if you do have any ideas as to who should be interviewed, let me tell you what we're interested in. The leverage that we have against the enemy. What is the advantage that we have? Why are we so confident that we will win? And how is it that we know that we will win? Is because the truth is on our side. And we only are interested in working with the truth. We are not interested in winning by cheating. We're not interested in winning through dishonesty. It could be of no interest to us whatsoever. We operate in a very, very simple way, is we work with the truth, and when we make an agreement, we keep it. And it's a very, very simple operating basis. That's what we do. And then we continue to push and move forward on the very purposes that we have been interested in for a very, very long time indeed. And the purpose of freedom, the purpose of restoring the life energy of this planet. This is why we bought Camelot. You see, a lot of people, they do think that we are hoteliers, simply because we have a hotel in Cornwall. And I have to tell you this, and I will admit this to you, we are the worst hoteliers in the history of the hotel business. We actually win the Fawlty Towers Prize every year, and we are not good at being hoteliers. We try, we muddle through. We sort of have worked out how to do it, but it's taken us now 20 years. But let me tell you what we are very, very competent at. We are very, very competent at exporting the truth. And one of the truths that we came across was the truth of Scientology and the research that L. Ron Hubbard did. And I don't know if you know this, but as a result of the communication that we've made from Camelot Castle, and as a result of the communication that other people have made as well, because it's entirely a team effort, over 1 million people have now been cured from depression. Over 2 million people have been cured from hardcore drug addiction. And many wars have been prevented. And thousands of lives, millions of lives have been saved as a result of Dianetics and Scientology. And there was an incredible friend of mine, and he actually ran the back line between President Kennedy and Khrushchev to prevent nuclear war occurring, and he used Scientology to do that. You may remember there was a Cuban Missile Crisis, and Khrushchev turned up to the United Nations and took his shoe off and banged on the desk of the United Nations with his shoe. And if a Scientologist had not been there, at that point Kennedy was being advised to launch a preemptive strike against Russia. And it was only because somebody had a little piece of Scientology data at the time that he applied to that situation. He kept the back lines open, and the world did not descend into nuclear war. So the value, you see, it's these little true stories about Scientology that are completely unknown to the public. You know, in our situation, we have, even in the immediate area here in Tintagel. By the way, there's a great Facebook group to join, and if you really want to find out what's going on in the local village here of Tintagel, it's called the Tintagel Voice, and it has been launched. You'll find it on Facebook, and it has been launched, and it's the brainchild of Roger Lyle, who's the chairman of the parish council, and I thoroughly suggest you get on there, because there's actually a lot of great freedom fighters now coming up through the ranks in Tintagel, and a lot of noble ambassadors of local noble ambassadors of Camelot Castle are now part of that group. And but even within the local community, it seems to be, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems to be acceptable, with certain people to be intolerant of Scientologists. Now, if the general public really knew that in fact it was the research of L. Ron Hubbard that on several occasions, by the way, has prevented nuclear Armageddon, and that most of us that had grown up in the 70s and 80s would be thoroughly radiated by now, had he not done what he did, I don't think anybody would be saying anything negative about Scientology. And if they really understood how Scientology can very easily, in 2 or 3 days, cure depression, in 2 or 3 weeks can cure any drug addict. These things are priceless. This is priceless knowledge. So where our leverage, where we have leverage, where we have the ability, we may be few in numbers, but we are very, very, we're actually not that few in numbers, to be fair, but where we are lower in numbers, let's say that, we're not few, we're lower in numbers than, let's say, the established, those that are running the establishment and the deep state, let's say. Now, where we are fewer numbers, where we are strong, is the fact that we only work with the truth. We are only interested in the truth. And because nothing else is ever, ever, ever going to set you free. So the goal of the Universal Freedom Program is not just to engage England, Dawn, and I know all of us here probably watching this channel would love to replace, any one of you watching this channel could do a better job than Boris Johnson has done over the last 2 years. Any one of you. It's not difficult. I mean, he's sort of playing blind man's buff. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but I mean, he's sort of blindfolded and he's trying to stick the tail in the pin of a donkey. Really, I think that's his technique for governing. Clueless, absolutely clueless. So any one of us could have done a better job. But let me tell you what we need to do. We need to use our capacity to communicate. Let's use our capacity to get ideas, because it's ideas that change cultures. It is not, funnily enough, even money. It is not money that changes cultures. And this is what we are going to continue. Now, we're joined here. One of the great men, Bradley Chapman. Trump is being suppressed in so many ways. Media and social media controls the narrative. Bradley, we don't agree with that in any way. You're not wrong. He has been suppressed. So have I. So have you, by the way. You've had a journey, right? And you have been suppressed. But as you know, when you got up and you pushed through what you had to push through, Bradley, right? You disagreed with the idea that you were going to be suppressed. And that disagreement of that idea is what pushed you through and helped you get back on your feet. So here, what is the mechanism of suppression? What is the actual anatomy of somebody who is trying to suppress you? Whether it's a group or an individual. Basically what they're doing is they're trying to get you to agree that you are not who you are. And if they succeed in that, they succeed in suppressing you. So you could know that you're a winner, but basically if they get you to agree that you're a loser, well then they suppressed you. You see? That's the trick. That is the trick that they use. But here's the thing. You know you're a winner. And you know who you are. And every single one of you out there knows who you are. Now, one of the things that I am going to be encouraging President Trump to do is to reopen his communication line to the general public by whatever means. And he needs to put out, my suggestion to him would be to put out a communication every day, which would be, what would Trump be tweeting if he was on Twitter? If he wasn't censored, what would Trump be communicating on Twitter if Twitter was not censoring him? And by putting that out every day, or as often, he should be essentially communicating whatever it is he would be tweeting. And all of us, let me ask you this, if he put that out, if he had a page on the internet, which would be under his control, this is what I would be tweeting were I not censored. You see, number one, every time he puts that out, he's reminding everybody that there is still censorship of an ex-president of the United States, which is such an anathema to the American Constitution. But we would also follow and we would forward his communications. And so the ideas, you see, what the planet is actually missing, and I'll ask you this, who here misses the original thought and philosophy of President Trump being injected into the society every day? Who actually here misses it? Because I know I do. I'll be honest. I miss his mind. I miss his intellect. I miss his intelligence. I miss his ability to calm down and prevent wars. You know, Trump prevented, to my knowledge, 4 wars in the last 5 years, and in each of those 4 wars, over 500,000 people would have died. He was supposed to go to war in Venezuela, he was supposed to go to war in Syria, he was supposed to go to war in Iran, and he was supposed to go on to war on the Korean Peninsula. He declined each and every one of those opportunities. I miss the communications that he was putting out. And so, do I think he has been a little bit suppressed? Yes, I do. And it's up to us to encourage him, to help him de-suppress him. I actually think that we as freedom fighters are the ones that need to take responsibility, because I don't think we rallied around him enough. I think each and every one of us could have done more. Now, I did a lot. Most of you on here did a lot. But could we have done more? And do we now today looking at what is happening in the world, believe A, that we could have done more, and B, do we believe that if he were the president now, we would be witnessing what we are witnessing at the moment if Trump was in the White House? Now, does this mean to say that everything that Trump did was correct? No. But what you had was you had a guy on the job that genuinely cared for America and genuinely cared for freedom in the world and genuinely did not want to see America at war. And we don't have that now. We don't have somebody like that in the White House, and we certainly don't have somebody that is that competent anywhere in leadership of the planet. So if we want to help new leaders emerge, which we genuinely do, and if we want to help President Trump, then what we need to do is we need to keep on making positive suggestions that are going to help freedom, and we need to make them to as many people as can hear them. So here's my suggestion for today for President Trump. Set up a website and call it something like, what would President Trump be tweeting if he was not censored? And tweet away as you would. Use the same font, use the same number of characters that you're allowed to on Twitter, and just put it out. And what you'll see is, you'll see your friends forward those ideas, you'll see those friends copy those ideas, you'll see those friends, plagiarism is a sport on Twitter. Does it matter? Thousands and thousands and thousands of our ideas here from Camelot have been plagiarized. It's totally fine, by the way. Those people that are sensible push power back in the direction from which the power has come. And those people that aren't, what do? They do themselves in by, taking an idea and not acknowledging where it's come from. It's totally fine. It's their loss. Because, of course, you feed the lines that feed you. So, very, very, it's fine. It's totally fine. But here's what we're going to do, is we're going to keep on originating constructive concepts, and we're going to encourage those beings to communicate. Now let's see who else. Well, here's Emma Knight. Emma Knight, one of the great freedom fighters of Tintagel. And Emma, could you put a link up here and help people join the Tintagel voice? Dianetics tells you to keep your deities. Modern man is trying to convince us that we're nothing but mud and clay. This is untrue. It's important to keep your faith and spirituality. Absolutely true, Emma, who is a local girl who's been reading Dianetics, which is fantastic. And I would advise, by the way, if there's anybody local that can't afford a copy of Dianetics, come here, pick one up, I'll give one to you. It's just too valuable, and frankly, for me, it's worth the 10 quid or whatever the book costs. I'd rather you have it. I'd rather you have the book. And providing you're going to actually read it. I don't want to give away books that people aren't going to read, so, you've got to convince me I'm going to read it. And so there we go. Now. So Gigi Flick says, I've researched Scientology, not satisfied with it. I'm more content with my Savior Jesus Christ, the Alpha, and that's great, Gigi. Thanks for looking into it. It's not everybody's cup of tea. And in order to be my friend, I don't care what your religion is. All I want you to be is you. So whatever works for you, I support. And I myself am a Christian. So I completely support your strong Christian faith and your love of Jesus Christ. So please understand that. But thank you for looking into it, And, hopefully you understand a little bit more, about what it is. Yeah, so Gigi Flick, that is a wonderful suggestion for President Trump to post what he would be tweeting if he were not censored. Exactly. I think it's a good idea. Gigi, could you help me get that to him as a noble ambassador of Camelot Castle TV network? I don't know what connections you have. I don't know who you are. You look like a lovely young lady from the screen picture of yourself. But who knows? Who knows who you are? Fantastic. Let's get this idea. That is a wonderful suggestion for President Trump to post what he would be tweeting if he were not censored. And tweet that out. And Gigi, let me ask you this. Would you be retweeting those ideas? Because I would. I miss President Trump. Just Lovely says, greetings from Alaska. You are so wise in your recommendations to walk. Well, Alaska. I've always wanted to come to Alaska. And my wife wants to go to Alaska as well. And in fact, we were planning to go there this winter, or this autumn, and go fishing actually. But sadly, we can't get over there because it's the elites. I suppose I suppose we all like to think we're special, but the elites really do think they're very special. Anyway, now, when there is election fraud, it's hard to do anything. I believe he would still be officially the president if there was not election fraud. Well, let me tell you, there's only one solution to election fraud in reality, because you're always going to have election fraud. And I don't believe there's a chance that any election fraud is going to get cleared up. I don't believe he's going to be reinstated. I'd love to be wrong. But I don't think he's going to be reinstated as a result of what Mike Lindell's exposed. Mike Lindell has exposed all of these things, and we've documented them, and you'll find them on the Camelot Castle TV network Telegram group. Yes, you will. But overwhelming support at the polls. Overwhelming support at the polls. Okay? That solves it. It truly solves it. And then being organised at the polls. Having a grassroots ground game. Having a grassroots ground game. They can cheat to the tune of 10%, 20%. They can't cheat to the tune of 90%. And if we start truly educating people in how their freedoms, we've got 3 years now to truly educate people in how their freedoms have been violated. There's already so much evidence. I've spoken to thousands of Democrats, or not thousands, hundreds of Democrats who say, oh my God, I can't believe what this idiot Biden is doing. And I know that there are thousands of Democrats that feel that way, hundreds of thousands of Democrats that feel that way. So, we can, overwhelming support at the polls is the key. We should all put together a kitty to buy our own private jet. That's a very good idea, Michelle. But, well, let's see. Here we go. Emma Knight has put up the link. You can all join the Tintagel Voice. Tintagel Voice is going to end up being a very powerful publication. And it's run right now by Roger Lyle. And, any of you that have thinking about coming to Tintagel, would like to visit Tintagel, or you'd just like to know what the local politics is in Tintagel and what is going on with the village of Tintagel. One of the things that we're thinking about, we're trying to come up with something that we can all agree on that would really, really help the village. What would help the village? Would it be a new cricket pavilion? Would it be a new football club? Would it be a new skateboard park? Would it be a ball for the winter? We're talking about putting a ball on. One of the things that we are going to be doing is doing a monthly dinner club. We're going to turn the dining room here into a nightclub. And I found a fantastic local DJ, club DJ, and we're going to be doing that. So everybody's going to come along, we get everybody dancing. I think dancing is very important. Very, very important. So I've spent a little bit of time with you this afternoon, nearly an hour, over an hour, golly. It's been fantastic. My great message to you is be yourself, keep communicating, subscribe to our Telegram group. If you see something that we have shared that you think other people should know about, go to work and spread that knowledge. Jesus himself said some seeds fall on stony ground, but some seeds fall on good ground. And the art of being a great disseminator is not so much the quality of what you say. I'm often surprised. People write to me and they say, oh, you said this. And to be honest with you, I hadn't even realized that I'd said anything of any value at all. And the one thing that they picked up on happened to be the one thing that they needed that day. So my message to you is, If you're aware of anybody that is depressed, make sure they know about Dianetics and Scientology. If you're aware of anybody that's addicted to drugs or has a problem with alcohol or anything like that, make sure they're aware of Dianetics and Scientology and Narconon. Make sure they know about that. If you're aware of any government leaders that are taking us into war, make sure they know about the third-party law and make sure that they're advised that Scientology contains all the solutions that would ensure that unnecessary wars don't happen. And let's really use, each and every one of you on this show has now been appointed as a noble ambassador of Camelot Castle. We will forevermore address you as Your Excellency. And I'm deadly serious about this. We're looking for somebody to help run our social media, and we're looking to expand the universal freedom campaign from Camelot Castle. And our goal, and we will have many goals, but one goal right now is to ensure that President Trump is elected as the 47th President of the United States in 2024. And I'm very, very much enjoying and very much looking forward to meeting those of you that help with that in the White House to celebrate when that happens. And it's going to be very, very exciting indeed. And there's a lot to play for. There's your children's future. There's this planet's future. And basically what we're fighting for here is we're fighting to prevent an enslaved society. So there we go. Lots of love to you all. And we will see you again very, very soon when we next decide to broadcast from the Infinity Salon at Camelot Castle in Cornwall.
Thank you.